Good morning. This is the morning of the assembly of the motor. Not a final assembly, just an assembly. All the parts you see laid out here. June the 7th, 1996. We'll start with the head gasket, sleeve and jug. There's your end bearing, end seal, bottom plate, the rear of the crank. This is the yoke assembly, Scotch yoke assembly. Right in here is the triple slipper bearing, which will telescope, of course, together. Second part of the crank, and the other end with the forward bearings. And we get the head bolts, sealing washers. There's the seal that goes around the piston rod. There's the piston with the slot, timing slot, and the lock nut, and the rings. So now we're going to start our assembly. I'll show you what it looks like halfway, and then I'll show you again what it looks like completed. Looking at the assembly together with the Scotch yoke, the triple slipper bearing, and the crank. The bearing goes on the shaft between the Scotch yoke. Then you put the crank together with the two end bolts right there. We're going to go for some. We're going to put the crank now into the end bearings and the side plates on. I'll show you that in a second. Just a few moments, if you've noticed, we've got these two end bearings on, which are your main bearings, and the rod is all up there. The bottom plate's on, the two end plates are on. Next we'll be attaching the side plates, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. There's thrust washers built into the end of the end bearings that are holding this, balances the throws away from the piece of end cap. That's an oil hole you see right there. Let oil back down into the main bearing. We'll be back in a few minutes with more of the Bourke motor reassembly. This is showing the half of the side already put together with the screws, and there's the end piece. Now we're going to put a seal on that shaft, which is the connecting rod. This is a leather oil seal. Now we'll put the cap on top of that and bolt that in place. Once we do that, then we can attach the piston and then put the other side on. I think we'll assemble the other side first. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. Now you see we have both sides on, getting ready to put the jugs on and the pistons. You can see it's beginning to take shape a lot like a Volkswagen boxer motor, except ours is exactly horizontally opposed instead of slightly offset as in the Volkswagen motor. I'll be back. We got the jugs on, the pistons on, the heads on finally. We're getting ready to tighten everything down. Yeah, the sleeve has shifted a little bit on both of these when we press the sleeve down into the jug. We might have to compensate by that by turning the piston, as well as using a Dremel tool to straighten things up. Also, when we put the heads on and tighten everything up, I noticed some of the sealant is coming out, which I thought would already be set. Let's keep an eye on that and see if the sleeves aren't moving or whatever. By the way, put her on the scales, exactly 102 pounds right now, the way it sits. Of course, we'll add more to it.